Morning, everyone. Welcome to Cardano Q&A.
Morning.
We've had a interesting week in Cardano land, well, in crypto as a whole. Maybe a quick touch on the recent price action. So we were expecting big things to happen around the Bitcoin ETF, which was released a couple of weeks ago, and certainly we've seen lots of movements. The price hasn't been the direction that I was expecting. So Bitcoin's price has dropped, and also the altcoins, as they're still called, Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot, etc., have gone up. However, that in the last week has settled back down again. So now we're more in line with where we were against Bitcoin from a couple of weeks ago. There's a great call this morning with Luca Bernardini from the Crypto Hour, talking through the reasons for the price action, particularly around the Bitcoin ecosystem as a result of the ETF and subsequent funds being launched, Grayscale being the largest, and how outflows from the Grayscale ETF into other investment mechanisms. So there's 10 other ETFs now available. And Grayscale is actually the largest, but also the most expensive. So people have been optimizing for other accounts. With the movements out of the Grayscale ETF into the other ones, and the delays that are built into the traditional finance sector, like once you sell your ETF, it takes a couple of days for them to be available as reinvestable funds. That's meant that there's a sort of delayed action. And so Bitcoin's price is currently down, but actually there's been a whole flow of institutional money into those assets. Overall, it's just not reflected in the price yet, but we're bound to see that in the next couple of months. So everything's on schedule for the bull cycle to hitting its flow as we get the Bitcoin halving underway. Prior to that, there's probably another big price action event, which would be Ethereum's ETF, which is still under application, but really we're kind of expecting it to go through as well now that all of Bitcoins have. So that will no doubt result in institutional money flowing into some of the smaller assets on the market. So Ethereum certainly, but then also the price action in these alternatives to Bitcoins will certainly be reflected in Cardano's price as well. So we're expecting good things in the coming months. Still no change there. So I've got a couple of things ready to share with you. So let's get into those. Of course, feel free to interrupt me at any point if you have questions, whatnot.
Yeah, Jonathan. That's about Bitcoin ETF, but why the Cardano also has fallen down slightly? That was a bit surprising.
Um, Not surprising, really. As you know, all coins that aren't Bitcoin ultimately follow Bitcoin's price action, and that's why we sit around waiting for the Bitcoin halving every 4 years and so on and so forth. So, Bitcoin's spot ETF launched. The price in Bitcoin was very high compared to the alternative coins at that point, and so you had Bitcoin. People were greedy for it. The ETF launched. Cardano, Ethereum, etc., were lower than Bitcoin in terms of price action. Then the ETF launched, and people had already bought into Bitcoin heavily because of the expectation. The price paused there on Bitcoin. The altcoins actually got a whole load of investment, so we were brought up to more in sort of parity with Bitcoin's price, I'd say. Then once the ETF had launched and the money started moving around, actually Bitcoin's prices dropped. And so again, there's a slight lag in everything, but Cardano, Ethereum's price have now dropped as well. So ultimately we still expect to be following Bitcoin's price still. So That's how I see it anyway. But no doubt, in fact, if you look at, I'll dig out a chart. Give me 1 second. Recording. So that's got the desktop sharing working. If I jump to trading view, have a quick look at the Ethereum chart, for example, you'll see price action of Ethereum. Look at it. Kraken. So the Bitcoin ETF was around the 9th. And so that's just here on the chart. Of course, there was actually the trading didn't open until the day after. And in the meantime, on the 9th and 10th, Ethereum's price started its climb. So it ran all the way up to 0.06, and it sort of stayed at that price. Let's have a look at BTC. Can we do that? Yes. And again, 9th, 10th, price ran up, and we have dropped back down to the sort of the start of the capitulation or the price band. It's dropped lower than Ethereum's has in comparison. But again, Ethereum is a, 10 times the size of Cardano's market cap. So much. In fact, am I making that up? Let me just check it. So you've got a much larger body of investors. Ethereum's got a market cap of 300 billion, and Cardano has 17 billion. So yeah, nearly 20 times. So again, price action in Cardano and Ethereum. Cardano is always a bit more volatile than Ethereum is. So yeah, we're still within reasonable range for ADA. I mean, it is having seen price of ADA to USD of was it 55? We've dropped quite a long way back down again, but yeah, actually no, we were up to 60, 61. So yeah, we have dropped a long way compared to US dollar. But again, we're not back down to the price at the start of the ETF announcement. And we are just at the start of the buy-in. So yeah, we've not dropped below, prices bounced. In terms of comparing to dollars, yeah, now is a good time to get in again, because again, now that the crypto industry has been approved, got its big tick from the regulators really, and from the financial institutions, then we're no doubt going to see lots of investment into crypto. Ethereum, of course, has got an ETF on the card, so its price action will be more assured in terms of the industry as an investment vehicle. Cardano doesn't have that benefit yet. It's still classed in the SEC, the latest writings, as a security, so they're still in theory coming after Cardano as a security, which places it in a different regulation bracket to Bitcoin and Ethereum as commodities. But in truth, in reality, the way the courts have been going, I don't think that will stand, and Cardano will fall under the commodities regulations as well. But at the moment where we are, price action will be different to Ethereum. But we'll see. This is crypto. Anything can happen. I'm still very confident. But yeah. Either way, you look at things since the start of the year, we've done extremely well. So nothing to cry over. Is that satisfy your question, Vitan?
Yeah, yeah, Jonathan. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, well, basically, I mean, I understand that, that most altcoin follow Bitcoin because Bitcoin, like way the earlier, look, I mentioned about why the grayscale is not still selling them. That's why, because I thought this Cardano is quite although I understand in terms of it does follow Bitcoin, same time, like reason for Bitcoin fall seems to be like what look I answered saying that it was because of grayscale, but that doesn't really, play into Cardano space. So that's why I was a little confused. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we are a different beast, and we've had months, years of price against Bitcoin falling in ADA.
Yeah.
So now we're back up against Bitcoin in comparison, still. But ultimately, I drew this on a while back. You can see the price of ADA against Bitcoin. We'd have been better investing in Bitcoin for the past couple of years
Yeah.
than in ADA, but now it's changed and we've definitely broken out, and ADA will rise against Bitcoin from now on, I think. But of course, we've still got a very volatile asset, and that shift up and down will be larger than um, in Bitcoin, than in Ethereum, all the others. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The one question I do have is, like we understand now there's Bitcoin ETF. Are we gonna have something ADA ETF? Like is this something already happened? So I'm slightly wanted to find out a bit more about.
Certainly not imminently. There's been no applications for anything like that. And again, you're talking about um, a market cap that's 20 times smaller than Ethereum, um, and so we're small fry. We are still small fry compared to Ethereum. So in terms of um, um, the regulated markets buying in pension funds and so on and so forth, they're not likely to be buying into Cardano for a while. Cardano really has to go through trial in court to see if it is going to move itself from the securities bracket into the commodities before anything like that could happen. And yeah, we're far from that. So far, in my opinion. I mean, within the Ethereum ecosystem, you've had huge volumes of stable coins for a long time now, and Cardano doesn't really have a significant volume stable coin in its cap. And in fact, that's one thing I should probably touch on today, is a bit on the stablecoin markets and within Cardano. But yeah, we're not at that scale. But in terms of technical innovation, we're a third generation blockchain. We've got the benefits of Bitcoin in terms of its stability, security, of deterministic trading, but we don't have the scale of the Ethereum ecosystem being the first smart contract blockchain. But the third generation has a long way to go before it's scraping or knocking on the door of Ethereum. So this bull cycle, certainly we will do really well against it because we've got a much smaller market cap. But in terms of industrial money, hedge
Yeah.
funds, pensions, they won't be buying us in from their brokers this anytime soon. So it's really, the Cardano is full of individual investors, venture capitalists aren't even in the Cardano space really. They operate much more in the Ethereum based forks and other chains. So yeah, in fact, that's another project within Cardano that I should probably talk about, is Token Allies. I should do some research on that first, but they're a sort of venture capital based community fund that's growing and looking to invest in small projects. But yeah, Cardano is a very different beast. We're starting from the ground up, from the grassroots. We are trying to do things right, trying to do things more slowly than the rest of crypto. We're in the academic, rigorous research, innovation, building in new technologies to improve as a fundamental rather than trying things, going after market growth as an incentive. It's a much more stable, boring approach. But ultimately, in the long run, I think we'll do extremely well.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's only Bitcoin. So Bitcoin only in ETF, right? Do we have Ethereum as well? Do you know anything about Ethereum going to in ETF? It's still
Yeah, the
similar story.
applications have been sent
Yeah,
in.
right. Okay.
Yeah, but have not been.
Bitcoin, Ethereum is applied. They accepted. It just 22 those coins, right?
Yeah, in terms of cryptocurrencies and yeah, regulated things. Yeah,
I
it's
see. I
just
see.
Bitcoin at the moment. Ethereum has got applications underway, and it's
Okay.
already had a bit of a thumbs up from the SEC in terms that Ethereum was classed as a commodity along with Bitcoin, compared to everything else has been classed as a security still.
Yeah.
And that's not a legal, stamp. It's a SEC's opinion in terms of what Gary Gensler said publicly and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there we go. Dinesh, you got a question?
Sorry.
No
Yeah,
worries.
a couple of points. If you can cover throughout the session sometime this morning.
Mhm.
There's been a lot of chatter about the USDC or USDC not, stable coin or stable coin not, and lately Cardano stable coin this week. So be good to get your take on if they think they need USDC, then why are they not talking about USDT in the same breath on Cardano, and why Jet isn't um, doing the similar job as the SDC is meant to be accepted. So we can cover that sometime this morning.
Mm.
Secondly, I cancel all my um, trades on Axo, and I'm not sure whether does it charge a fee if you open a trade and close a trade without actually executing it. I wasn't sure.
Good questions. Yeah, and I'll have a look at Axo in a second. The stablecoin stuff's probably good to look at. Yeah, there's been a whole load of talk and discussion certainly around stablecoins on Cardano at the moment. Of course, we've got our algorithmic stablecoin, which is JED, and that's actually started to do a bit more in terms of people buying into it at the moment. So for a long time, you couldn't mint more JED because there wasn't enough. Have I got that the right around? So you've got JED and you've got Shen. Shen is a reserve token and JED is the stable. And you mint and burn Shen to keep the price of JED stable. When the volume of Shen falls below 400 times the value of the JED, then that means that you can only mint more Shen. When when the volume of Shen rises above 8 times the value of JED, then you can't mint any more Shen. You can just burn it. And so, and when those volumes are outside of that range, 400 to 800%, then you can't mint more JED. So you can only mint JED when the Shen reserve token is looking within its band of 400 to 800 times over collateralized. So for a long time, you couldn't mint any more JED because there wasn't enough price action on Shen, volume in Shen. Now there is, and you can mint and burn JED again. So people have been minting. Well, if you look down here, we've got 400 times the value in Shen token as you do have in JED. So that means you are able to mint and burn both at the moment because we're in that 400 to 800% band. Saying that, we're talking about a stable coin that is algorithmic. So there's less confidence in it than there is in a fiat-backed stablecoin at this point in time. The largest algorithmic stablecoin we've had to date has been Terra Luna ecosystem from last 2 years ago now, and that huge collapse really dented the confidence in algorithmic stablecoins. Ethereum ecosystem has several more. There's DAI as well, and one thing we can look at will be useful is just to see the volumes within stablecoins, and DeFi Llama I think is great for that. If we look at stables, so within the whole market of stablecoins, you've got Tether sitting at 94 billion, and then USDC 24 billion, and that's what you just mentioned, Dinesh. So Tether has an issue in that the proof of reserves is not transparent. So even though it is the largest, 3 times larger than the next largest stablecoin, there is an innate hesitation about trusting it from particularly Bitcoin people. This is my perception, and within the Cardano ecosystem, because really what we want in our DeFi space, which is where we operate, we want to have full transparency. We want to have all knowledge. We want to have record on chain of everything that's going on. And so when it's with a stable coin, which is inherently a bridge between the fiat world and the cryptocurrency world, if we've got no transparency just within that, that sort of bridge, if you think about it, and you can't trust, you're having to trust the fact that Tether says they've got $1 in the bank for every $1 of cryptocurrency USDT that has been minted. You're relying on their word rather than on any on-chain proof. You don't really have confidence in their stablecoin, and so there could be a run on the token. They might be shown up as having not the reserves necessary to fulfill every USDT for real world dollars, and so that gives a bit more hesitation in adopting it and certainly bringing it into an ecosystem like Cardano. So the next best thing would be USDC. USDC is far more transparent. They do have better proof of reserves, but they are a very centralized entity. So they really are beholden to complying with regulation in whichever nation they're operating. So if the SEC goes to Circle and says, we want you to shut down transactions of USDC on this blockchain, then USDC will comply, will conform. And if they're asked to hand over records of transactions and wallets, then they will do the same thing as well. And we're not too worried about that in Cardano because obviously we've got an open and public blockchain that shows all transactions for everybody, and every wallet is known publicly. But again, the idea of bringing in a private company that's looking to make profit, that is going to do what it's told rather than, it has to come under doing what it's told rather than being independent financial entity in and of its own right, does bring hesitance with an algorithmic stablecoin. All the price movements, price changes, keeping that peg, making sure that the dollar on chain is equivalent to, you can redeem it for $1 worth of another asset. That's where algorithm coins really work. But with Circle, we bring them in. Again, we're relying on them, having real world dollars in the bank to be able to back the dollars on chain, and I'm sure they can do that. They're extremely big compared to the next largest, which is only 5 billion. but it's again not quite matching with the ethos within the Cardano ecosystem. And so there is, equal camps saying bring in USDC, and an equally large and vocal camp saying no, we don't want to touch them with a barge pole, because you're in a space where decentralized finance is what we're all here for, in theory, anyways. Of course, we're bringing in more and more people all the time, and the proportion of people who are in it just to make money and people who are in it for the systemic change that proportion is always changing, going towards the cash grab approach, because that's human nature. But where we are at the moment, the fundamentals, getting those right is still more important to us. So within the community, we've had the USDM project rise up. Touching on it again, algorithmic stablecoins really where we want to get to long term, but we don't have the volume in it. If I just have a look on, I think we're like 70th or something with Jed. There. Go by chain. I did do it the other day. If we go by it's not even registering because we've got such tiny stable coins. Jed has a market cap of 5 million, compared to DAI, which has 5 billion, which is Ethereum algorithmic stablecoin. So we are really small fry, but that is where ultimately Cardano people would rather head. That's what my impressions are. The fiat-backed stablecoins, of course, are more trustworthy because the fiat world is far, 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 far larger than crypto. And if someone's got $1 and they're happy to give you the dollar for $1 of stablecoin, then that gives you much more confidence as a place to put your trades when they're not in a trade. They can sit in a stablecoin, which is sort of pegged to your cash in the bank, and the prices in shops. However, USDM is a stablecoin that is being built under full regulation by a community group that's had funding from Project Catalyst, and is going to have full and transparent on-chain proof of reserves. So we'll have oracles that actually track what's in the bank accounts in the fiat world, from independent sources, telling us exactly those bank balances match what is available in terms of the stable coin on chain. So you'll then be very confident in knowing you've got one-to-one. You can always redeem your USDM for a real world dollar. And that's what will give confidence in the stable coin. USDM has hit a couple of issues. So it was looking to launch before Christmas, but they had their audits done. In fact, their audits were done by the Sunday Swap team, which are veteran Haskell Plutus developers, and they found some vulnerabilities within their smart contracts, not from a public perspective. So anybody interacting with the smart contract from outside couldn't do any damage. But if you were within Mehen and you had access to their platform, then you could actually manipulate or fudge some figures, or cause some kind of disruption within the ecosystem from internally. And so that was flagged in their audit. Mehen weren't happy to then launch without being fully assured that their internal mechanisms were as strong as robust as their external ones. And so they're going through a rewrite of some of their crucial smart contracts. And so they've pushed their launch date back to March 16th. So the sort of excitement about having our own fiat-backed stablecoin pre-Christmas has faded away. But people still are excited about Mehen. There's still an opportunity to get in as an investor. They did a token raise, not a token raise, like a crowd fund appeal on WeFunder, and they've moved that over to Chainrise, which is a bit more crypto friendly. So you still have an opportunity over there to go and invest. You have to be subscribed to their newsletter. Bit of a tip: get subscribed to their newsletter, an old school email newsletter, and then you'll get the latest access to investment opportunities within this stablecoin. So again, a very different offering to Circle. There's no way you can go and buy. They're not a publicly listed company, I don't think, even. So you can't buy a portion of USDC, but you can buy a portion of Mehen, because it's a brand new startup, very small, looking for private equity to be able to run and trade and grow and develop. And so you can get into the ground floor in owning part of a stablecoin architecture, which is very cool. Of course, all this Mehen stuff has got to be able to find and draw and attract the funds that will actually go behind backing the stablecoin itself. So that's a work in progress. They do have very good access to the finance markets in terms of their staffing have all come out of that sort of industry. So they do have contacts on Wall Street, etc., to be able to get a whole load of dollars together to back their stablecoin. But they're going through the regulation steps first, and I think they're regulated to offer their stablecoin in 12 states, and they're looking for all 70. So that's a work in progress. When I don't know how many they're going to have done by the time they launch, but that number is growing all the time, which is great to see. So they are very active. They are working really hard. They are going the full stable approach, as in slow and stable, as opposed to move fast and break things. They're taking advice from third-party auditors, and they're doing everything right. So I'm still very confident and excited about Mehen's future. But they're pushed back 3 months. So the furor has dropped a little bit. We also had USDA from Ansens, which is a Emergo-backed, fiat-backed stablecoin. Emergo is one of the 3 founding entities that created Cardano, and they have shelved their stablecoin. So that was one that people were very excited about, because obviously having one of the 3 founding entities of Cardano actually producing their own stablecoin, they're all about spell it. I can't quite remember. Yeah, they were all about growing the Cardano ecosystem. They're a founding entity. They benefit massively from any growth in the ADA ecosystem. For them to actually put together a stablecoin would have been very good, because they'll have a whole load of equity that they can put into it straight away, liquidity. But that has now been shelved due to the regulation of stablecoins in the States in particular has become very difficult. And they've just backed off, paused for now, just to let the market sort of settle. And when that gets picked up again, I'm not sure. But Mehen is still pushing ahead. So that's our best fiat-backed stablecoin option at the moment. But they've got some ways to go still. Any questions in and around what I've said on that so far, Dinesh?
So I know Jet is developing version 2 now, and they're going on to Ethereum. But it sounds to me like on Cardano, Jet volume is just depend on supply demand.
Yes,
Is
exactly.
that okay? So people are still not too sure about Jed and Shen in terms of the way their way it's been established. Is this what I'm thinking? And Jed moving on to Ethereum implies that as a company, they've probably got some things on mind. That's why they want to go. They want to move on to Ethereum for version 2.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. So the developers of the ecosystem itself are Coty. They have their own blockchain entirely independent of Cardano. So they have the trust chain. And so they are a blockchain agnostic firm. They were chosen by IOG to build out the implementation of this stablecoin because they are a very business oriented blockchain. So they and their team, all the products they've put out so far have been 100% compliant with regulation globally, where possible. Where there is regulation that they can conform to, they've complied with it. So every bit of investment that's gone into the Coty ecosystem can be tracked back to its origins. Full KYC has been done. Anti-money laundering compliance is all there. So they're seen as a really stable entity in terms of choosing them as a development partner. It doesn't mean that they are exclusive to the Cardano ecosystem. So the JED stablecoin is a technical implementation of a stablecoin designed by IOG, but is independent of IOG, independent of anything other than market effects. So yes, as it's been very difficult to attract people willing to put money into JED during this last bear cycle, they have in the meantime continued to develop and have got this alternative version 2 coming up, which will again launch on ADA, but then they're also looking to bring it onto other chains as well, Ethereum being the first. Another big blocker in people jumping into the JED Shen ecosystem is that they've got this 1.5% fee when you go to mint or burn. Let me just try connecting a wallet, see if it'll show me some figures. So if I was going to take 500 mid $500 of JED, then the fees are 5 ADA on 500 US dollars, and I think that's about 1.5% is the fee. Can't remember where I saw the exact fee now. So when you mint,
works out 1.03%. So it's just over 1%.
Okay, and I think within that there's a fixed fee as well. So combined, yeah, something like that. Can't remember exact figures. So obviously, if you're looking to put in $1 million, mint $1 million of JED, you're paying that percent fee, 1 point whatever it was you came up with on that. Yeah, which is
a lot of money. Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a whole load going on fees. Yeah, 10,000 on $1 million. So you're putting a whole load of cash into an ecosystem that you're not going to see again. So that's not really what is, it's certainly not encouraging people to get involved. And so really you're only talking about people putting small amounts just because they're trying to see how the ecosystem will go, or they're minting enough just for their own personal needs. So actually, if I'm trading with a $10,000 portfolio in the Cardano ecosystem, then I'll maybe mint half of that $5,000 worth of JED and just use that for my own needs. And I'll put 10,000 into the Cardano native token market, and then trade my way back into JED, $5,000 worth. And then if I want to get it out of the ecosystem, I'll sell it, sell the JED back to ADA, and then back into pounds or dollars. But there's no real incentive for a large institution to come in when there's that large 1.5% fee. And so I think that's holding people back. Certainly, I've heard decently sized traders talking about that within the Cardano space. So that is a hesitation. And then they'll have the same issue as they go to Ethereum as well. But they're looking for not massive, huge market domination through growth. They're looking for slow and stable growth as well. And I think that is a better approach compared to Terra Luna, which was just eager for the cash to get into the system, and then their actual peg mechanism was not decent, and they had a run on their reserves, and it all collapsed. They lost the peg, and everything died. So we don't want to see that again. So this is a different approach, looking for far more collateral. But of course, the only way you can mint JED is by putting ADA into it as collateral, and so we're talking about for every ADA's worth of of JED token that exists, you've sucked up 4 ADA as a minimum, and up to 8 ADA just against that 1 ADA in JED. So that sort of is really going to pull ADA out of the market, which is bullish for the price of ADA, because that will create a shortage. But it's taking a lot of people. They really need a big incentive to plow their ADA into that, because at the moment we're here mostly thinking that ADA's price is going to rise significantly against the dollar, and so we're not really seeking to get into the dollar. We're seeking to get into ADA, and so people aren't buying it or minting it on scaling.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. So a fiat-backed stablecoin does make sense at this point in time still. You're not having to over-collateralize it. You've got $1 to $1, as opposed to 4 to 8 times ADA worth of dollars to $1. But yeah, there's nobody that's managed to meet the regulatory compliance targets yet, and has the collateral to put behind it, or liquidity to put behind it. But yeah, it's coming, and there's a large group of community influencers who are looking to get USDC Circle, the second largest cap stablecoin, into the ecosystem, just as a sort of private enterprise. So not IOG, not Cardano Foundation, not Emergo. They've washed their hands really of Circle. They're not going to do it. But that doesn't mean the community doesn't want it still. And so we could, and I think there's the blocker to that at the moment is like a 6-figure fee needed to actually get Circle to do the development to connect their ecosystem to the Cardano network. And so if you're talking about putting $20,000 was it? I can't even remember how much it was now. I think it was more than that. I think it was like, I can't remember. There's a good video by Big Pay, who runs the Bloom pools and also has the Atrium product on Cardano. It's building up for merged for baskets of staking, which is quite exciting. Big Pay's an OG stake pool operator. What's his YouTube channel?
Yeah, that's the video I saw as well, and one or two others I've seen talk about USDC.
Yeah. So that video is worth a watch. I'll drop that into the Discord server, so anybody else that wants to watch that video, you can catch up on it. And he's looked at stablecoins far more than me. I'm not too interested in the space, but he knows a lot more. Also, Cardano Dan, I don't know what his YouTube.
Yes, this same surname. Yeah, that's Chappie.
Has he got a stablecoin video yet?
He's not done one yet. He's mentioned it briefly, but he's not done a specific video.
Okay. Yeah, so this guy is very active on Twitter, under crypto investor, is he? Or crypto recruiter on Twitter. That's his handle. You can follow him, and he's a big influencer in the Cardano ecosystem. People love or hate him, it seems.
He's into TA, technical analysis.
Yeah, very into his technicalities. But yeah, a decent sized influencer, and those two guys are both sort of heading the charge to try and get USDC onto Cardano in some way, shape, or form. And if they do that, then that will mean a whole flow of, easier flow of traders coming into the space, which will help boost the price, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm kind of indifferent. I'd rather see USDM take hold still. I think that's a far better approach, having a community grassroots stablecoin in the space with on-chain proof of reserves is ideal.
I must say I'm tended towards USDM, native token. If it's backed by US dollars, then and regulated, then actually that's a good solution.
Yeah, I think so. I was just thinking they did have a record of which states they've got regulation approved in, but I don't see it here. But it's not just the US they're working in. Obviously, they're looking all around the world. So they've got registrations with all the large, UK and Europe and other bodies as well, regulatory bodies. So they are doing the groundwork. They do know what they're talking about. Their head of PR has caused a ruckus on Twitter this last couple of weeks because he was very rude to Cardano Dan in one of his tweets. But he's since apologized, and Dan's forgiven him, and it was all sweet again. But yeah, it's we're a young ecosystem. People make mistakes. We don't have high paid public relationship officers in all our projects yet. But it's good. I like a bit of drama as much as the next one. So yeah, stable coin space is interesting. But again, we're still in the same place as we were a month ago. There's nothing here yet. So we'll see. Good. Okay.
Okay, thank you for that.
Pleasure. And the other question you were asking about was
Axo.
So yes, quick look at Axo.
What I did was when they launched initially LBE, I put some trade on at very low value, but as you said, it's never dropped below 10 ADA per Axo. It got down to 8 ADA, but my orders were never filled, so I canceled them. And I'm thinking, I don't know whether they charge me for placing and canceling orders.
Yeah, I'm not 100%, but I don't think they do. I think you get your initial sort of ADA back as part of the deposit of placing a trade. And so the fee for cancelling will be very minimal, if anything. But yeah, I haven't actually cancelled my orders yet either. I need to get in and do that because the price action is going the wrong way now, which is bad for our trades, but good for the value of the ecosystem. So it's looking like it's going to be an extremely successful.
It looks very solid, doesn't it?
It does. That's a very impressive price capitulation after the initial turmoil. Drop back down to 7.8.
When the project's launched, you normally see a massive spike and then and the water flow bathtub down. This one's come down and gone up, so it's started to make its way up.
Yeah, we did see that huge
already within days.
Yeah, we did see a huge spike, but that was technical issues mostly based on technical issues around the launch. So the guys have confessed to having lots of internal problems just to the sheer volume that tried to get in on this seed event. It was a new approach, hadn't been done before. The team is top notch, but there's no accounting for a real market conditions, even in any testing you can do. So we just got overwhelmed within this first day. Since then, the price has been, the price finding, which is what we're still in this phase of finding the price that the token will actually be worth at launch. And it dropped down as far as 7.9. And at the current, we're sitting at 16, but even today we've been up to 18. So the price is still, volatile, jumping up and down in terms of finding its level, but that's a very bullish curve in my mind.
Yeah.
I found the bottom and they're on the way up now. So of course there will be large sell-offs and buy-ins when the token is actually available, made on the public market, which has been pushed back. So excuse me, their actual date has been pushed back. And this post here really goes in detail into what the problems were they had at launch, or not launch, at the main net seeding event that they did. And so I'll drop a link to that. You can have a read through, and even though that way of launching a token has not gone well at in terms of user experience, they're going to fix those problems. They're going to keep working on it, and then this mechanism as a whole will be available for future token launches. So yeah, they're good guys working really hard, and I'm excited for the future of the token, for the future of the platform. I'm desperate to get on and use it as a new trading platform because it is really nice. But they've actually pushed back the token launch itself until
6th of February.
The 6th, is it? Yeah, 6th of February. So a couple of weeks away, February 6th there. So
from the user experience, I found each time I wanted to place a trade or close a trade, you have to go in and put in your password for the wallet. So compared to central exchange and DeFi exchange, the difference is you have to keep putting in your password for the wallet.
and you're talking about when you're signing a transaction. So
Definitely when I canceled the trade, I had to, for each cancelled trade, I had to go in and put in the password for my wallet that I used. So
right,
presumably put the money back into there. And when I opened, I think I had to put in the password for spending.
Yeah, and that's always going to be the case. So, well, I presume it always will be the case. The only way they could do it so it was more like a centralized exchange is if they were if you were handing over your spending password to the platform. And of course, this is DeFi. We're trying to get away from handing.
That's a given then, isn't it? For a DeFi platform, then each transaction is a signed transaction.
Yeah, so you're always going to have to.
Yeah, okay.
And that's that's the user interface downside of having self-sovereignty over your funds.
Yeah, you're authorizing you're being the own bank and you're authorizing the transaction. Yeah.
And the upside to it, because there's always an upside to every downside, is that you're so what's really good about Axo, and we haven't seen it on any other exchange so far, is that you place your trade. So you may place say 2,000 ADA to buy at this price, another 2,000 at a different price, another 2,000. So you could end up with like 6,000, 8,000 ADA tied up in trades. Now, if you were doing that on MinSwap, USDSwap, Windrise, etc., then you are handing your funds over into a smart contract. And so you're putting that 10,000 ADA, whatever it is, into the hands of a smart contract, which is then meaning you're not earning any staking rewards for that 10,000 ADA for the period that your trades are on the exchange, waiting for the markets to reach the price triggers. On Axo, you place your trade, and all this time that you've been in those trades that never got filled, you are still earning staking rewards because they take the sending wallet's stake address and assign that ADA to it, to that staking address again. So you're not losing out in the ecosystem by placing a trade on Axo, whereas you are by placing a trade on any other exchanges. So that's a significant advantage over the other exchanges that you have with Axo. So when it launches, I'm sure it's going to see a whole load of people moving their daily sort of trade behavior over to it. Yeah, but of course the downside is that you are interacting with a decentralized exchange still. You are responsible for your funds, and any movement of those funds has to be signed by you as the wallet holder, the wallet owner. You can hand over your funds to a smart contract, which can then be triggered based on market conditions or even manual interactions with that smart contract via a platform. But with Axo, you are fully in control of all your assets, which is really cool, really good to see, and definitely the better approach for interacting with it. I won't bother doing that, but yeah, that's Axo. So exciting stuff. Let me go to my notes because I did want to say something else on that. No, that was it. So you've got that post reading about the launch and the issues they had. That was an interesting read. And then, of course, you've got this platform is still open now till February. So if you do want to try and get in on the price of the token, on determining the price of the token at launch, you can still use this platform for now. By interacting with it, you are putting your ADA, you are handing your ADA over, and you'll get Axo back if your trade gets filled. But you won't actually see your Axo until February 6th now. That's what you're participating in at this point. But yeah, they've got a whole load of bright future ahead of them, I'm sure. Good. So another thing which I touched on last week, we covered quite extensively, was the scam tokens that are appearing in Cardano, of which there are loads. Let's have a quick look at tokens that I know. So these are all the tokens that are sitting in this wallet, and in there you've got on pool.pm now, really good stake operator, the guy from Smaug, built out this platform, the most beautiful blockchain explorer in the Cardano ecosystem, and he has got this feature now that will flag all tokens that are scams with a big red scam. So very easy way of finding your scam tokens now from your wallet. I'm sure that will be implemented within the wallet interfaces themselves at some point, but this is a good way of just going and finding them. And so each of these tokens, they look the same in terms of they have an image for the token that includes a URL, hoping people will go to that website, connect their wallet, at which point, and sign a transaction, at which point their wallet will be drained. So don't engage with this platform at all. However, we covered in last week's video about how to redeem the ADA that gets sent along with these tokens, by also getting rid of the tokens out of your wallet. So I'll do that again at some point. Ditch these tokens, send them to a centralized exchange, which will then have ADA in it and no NFT tokens, no fungible tokens attached in any way, shape, or form. So that's a good way of sort of getting rid of these, burning these scam tokens, and also, being very pleased with yourself, because every time someone scams you or attempts to scam me by sending me one of these tokens, I get like 1.5 ADA along with it. And so I've actually, in the last couple of weeks, I've been earning more from scam tokens, receiving scam tokens, than I have from staking, which is kind of crazy to be happy to be scammed or have scam attempts to get me. But yeah, I just see it as increasing my portfolio now. And that's because of the really brilliant people that worked on Cardano in the first place. They thought all these things through. They'd watched Bitcoin, they'd watched the Ethereum space. They knew the scams that were going on, and they designed a protocol that would make it very difficult to scam. So they force every token that gets sent into a wallet has to send real ADA along with it as well. And of course, ADA has a value, has a real world price. And to participate as a scammer in the ecosystem, you're now having to hand over the ADA. You have to buy a whole load of ADA to start with to decide to scam people. Then you're sending enough tokens through to enough people with the hope that there's some gullible people out there to fall for the scam, that you'll make more than the ADA you're putting into it. So to be a scammer, you really have to invest in the ecosystem. You have to put hard-earned cash into it. And for anybody that's aware, that's savvy, that isn't going to fall for a scam, isn't going to do something crazy by visiting a website from a token that they didn't pay for, then you're safe from the scam, and you're also benefiting from the ADA they've had to send along with it. And so hopefully this will, push the scammers out of the ecosystem, because they just won't be able to afford to scam people. And that's designed in the protocol itself. It can't be written out, it can't be circumvented. There'll be future of having Babel fees where the network fees will actually be able to be paid not in ADA, but that's down the road still. And ultimately, I'm sure it'll be done in a way that forces people to have had to invest in ADA as a starting point anyway. So yeah, I'm happy to be scammed. We've got a thread now on the Fluid tokens. A bit bigger for you. This is a Fluid 7, not Fluid tokens, Fluid 7 Discord server. We are 2 different projects. We're not related. I just really like Fluid tokens. And they have the same name. So in our channels list, sorry, I've got my channels here. You don't want to see those. You'll just be seeing these as investor. So you can go to how to, and that's where all the tokens are being posting so far. So if you get that one or that one or that one or that one show up in your wallet, then they will then that's you receiving a scam token that will actually give you some free ADA. And there's been, a whole load more again just overnight. These ones come in. So what I'm going to do is move all of these into a single thread. So they'll show up in here, and then you can go to that thread if you want to follow this and subscribe to that thread just to get the updates on any scam tokens that appear, and then you can watch out for them in your wallets. But it'll then clean up this how-to thread a bit. But yeah, that's one of the benefits of being on the Discord as well as following these calls, is that you get to see all the links for the calls, ask questions asynchronously. I don't have to be online to answer those questions then, and it's a good place to be. Good. Now let me go back to my notes. We've had the Fluid tokens launch event. So AXO token was being launched, and they've used their new mechanism that they designed to do it on the AXO trade platform. Fluid tokens instead went for a tried and trusted method using MinSwap as a launchpad. So MinSwap have this, did open it up, have this launch bowl feature. And Fluid tokens, which is the project that, again, like AXO, they built their technology first and then raised funds afterwards and released their token after they've built some technology that's on chain and then being used by people. They've taken the same sort of approach. Let's build first, bootstrap it, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps to get this built, and then we will benefit from once we've shown we can deliver. Then we'll ask for people to put some money into a token, which they will benefit from to fund further innovation and developments. But instead of using their own mechanism, they've actually used MinSwaps, which has been used by several projects over the years, and has a very solid approach. The approach is that you set a minimum threshold of ADA that you want to reach and a maximum. So in Fluid Token's case, they want to look for a minimum of 4 million ADA being invested into their token at launch and a maximum of 16 million. Most projects that have launched on MinSwap for this platform have either failed to reach the minimum or just scraped into it. Fluid Tokens had 4 days for which people could participate in this token launch, and they hit the 8 million threshold within 20 hours or something crazy. So it was a really fast sale, which means that everyone's very bullish about Fluid Tokens. So you can't get in on the token launch price now, but of course, at launch, there will still be price drops and rises, so you can get in on it as soon as it does. By participating in a MinSwap launch bowl liquidity bootstrapping event, you send, okay, I want to buy 3,000 ADA's worth of the Fluid token. You hand your 3,000 ADA over, goes into a smart contract, and you can cancel it and get it back out again. You can put more in on top of it, but once the threshold is met, it's then closed. So even though it says it's still saying 3 days left, it's actually hit the threshold, the 8 million threshold, so it has stopped now. So you can't get in with more, but it means that in 3 days' time, actually, they might have brought it forward. I need to check that actually. They might have this 3 days might not be valid anymore. I think they might actually release the Fluid token earlier. But yeah, effectively at the end of the discovery phase, the token Fluid FLDT will be sent to you in the proportion of how much ADA. So if I put in 3,000 and then managed to raise 8 million ADA, then I'll get that proportion of Fluid token out of the 32 million tokens that are available in this launch event sent to me. So I'll be getting some Fluid FLDT tokens sent to me as liquidity pool tokens, not as FLDT exactly. So I'll get liquidity pool tokens, and I can either leave them on the MinSwap platform as liquidity tokens, which means I'll start earning a portion of the trading fees for that liquidity pool. I'll be able to then farm those tokens if I want to earn an additional percentage above and above the trading fees within the ecosystem. I'll just actually have a quick check, see if it's actually up there yet. No, not yet. So there'll be a FLDT token pair on here after it launches on MinSwap. And I, of course, can sell out of that and get my ADA and FLDT tokens back out. I won't, so that'll be 3,000 ADA's worth of FLDT and ADA tokens, not 6,000, if that's what you were thinking. And so I can then choose to sell my FLDT because the price has risen quickly at launch, or I can hold on to it just in my wallet as a hodler, or I can put it, leave it as a liquidity token, earning fees on the exchange itself. So a nice, solid way. And it was a perfect launch. People got in really smoothly. There was no congestion. So MinSwap have really got this whole process nailed down for launching tokens, which is really, really impressive. If not quite as exciting as the Axo one. But yeah, that was something I really didn't have time to do in one of the calls. But the launch didn't. I was expecting it to run over this call today, but it's already closed. So yeah, there we go. In the past, they've done Indigo and Makosi and Clay. We're going to do one on here and so on and so forth. But yeah, this FLDT Fluid token has been really good. And the fact that they're sold out within a day out of the 4 means that people are very confident in the Fluid tokens platform as a whole. So if you haven't done any research on it yet, I've talked about it in the past, then do go and have a look at it. One of their most exciting features, new features. So it's a lending platform. You can put your NFTs up as collateral against drawing down another asset. So you can borrow ADA, you can borrow IEUSD stablecoin. um, from the platform, and not lose your NFTs or well, the fund itself. You just pay a bit of interest in the meantime. As long as you pay your interest, that you don't lose your NFT, which you put up as collateral. Another option that they do, another feature they've just done is actually quickly. I talked about renting an asset, so you can go on here. You can rent a Zercher NFT, and that will let you try out Zerberus's token research project research platform, which is very good for doing due diligence on a token. You can rent out a Tappy and get access to the pro features within Tap Tools to do token analysis, market analysis, wallet profiling, see where whales are buying and selling, etc. Very good way. And you can rent, instead of buying a Tappy for 1,000 ADA, you can rent one for an ADA a day. So that's a really good way of getting access to some of these other platforms' features without having to spend a fortune on it. And you can even rent this FLDT token, which then will give you a boost when you are participating in liquidity pools on the FL off on the MinSwap DEX. So you could actually boost your earnings if you've participated as an FLDT holder by buying one of their NFTs. You can either buy it at the NFT again for 1,000 plus ADA, or you can come and rent one at 1 ADA a day. So it's a really powerful renting platform for NFTs that have utility behind them. But also you can actually, like I've talked about, the Optim Finance bonds, you can lend your ADA into a bond and earn interest from the person that's borrowing. You can do the same thing here. You can either be a liquidity provider to boosted stake on Fluid tokens, or as a stake pool operator, or someone who wants to participate in an ISPO, i.e. borrow more ADA than they've got in their wallets. You can come on, borrow 100,000 ADA, and promise to pay 8% interest on that. So borrow 100,000, I'm going to pay 8,000 in fees, in interest to the borrower. And as long as you do that, the borrower gets their interest and you get hold of 100,000 ADA that you can't spend, but you can stake it where you want. So you could borrow 100,000, stake it to the CoinNectar ISPO, for example, earn a whole load more CoinNectar CNCT tokens than you would just with your own holdings, perhaps. And then by the end of that ISPO event and the end of your borrow, you expect to be able to sell your CNCT tokens that you earned for more than the interest you paid on the loan. And so that's a way of leveraging assets in your wallet and these token platforms to be able to participate with a larger amount of ADA than you actually hold yourself. So I did that as a stake pool operator to get 1 million ADA for the past year to put into Fluid Pool to boost the minting of blocks, etc. And also be able to benefit from things like the CoinNectar ISPO, which we've managed to get the pool part of. But again, yeah, really good, innovative way of earning more to what you are borrowing than what you're paying in interest. On that note, let's have a quick look at the CoinNectar ISPO. So if you haven't done it yet, do come and have a look. Stick your address for any wallet you've got staked with Fluid Pool. Stick your address in here and click submit. Your receive address, click submit, or your stake key, and it will tell you how much CNCT tokens you're going to receive at the end of Epoch 463. We're about a day away from Epoch 462, so 15 days away from the end of the ISO. And so that's not the final figure you'll be receiving, but it's pretty close to it now. And then you can go into, for example, Tap Tools, find out the price of CNCT as it is at the moment, which is 0.112 ADA, and then see how much free tokens you're gaining from being a Fluid Pool delegator. I mentioned the Optim Finance bond that I've got. So here is the info page on the Optim Finance bond. So you can see we've had it for 72 epochs, which is just off a year of having the bond. We are the bond is closable in 2 epochs. So anybody that's lent money into this bond can go and close it within the next 10 days. They will get their initial lending amount back again. They'll also get the interest that I paid to them back out as well. So if you participated in this as a lender, then you'll receive back 5.3% of what you've lent into it, compared to the 3.2% which you're getting through to liquid staking on Cardano. You could have done this and got 5.3% for the year. So if you do want to participate in bonds, this is a great platform. I fully trust it, and as a way of increasing the amount of ADA you're getting back on it. But you can also participate as a borrower as well and get hold of 1 million ADA if you want to, and use that to join ISPOs around the world, or stake it to Fluid Pool and and see the pool grow. But yeah, that's probably only worth doing it if we're in an ISO as well. So the ISO with CNCT is ending about the same time as the bond is here. So we will likely see a whole load of ADA leave the stake pool, which is sitting at 1.6 at the moment in terms of delegated stake. So a 1.1 of that may leave, 1.2 maybe, at the end of the ISPO and the end of the Optim bond. But we'll still mint blocks, just not quite as regularly. But the rewards for each of those blocks will be larger than they are currently. So no need to leave the pool. There will be other ISPOs. There'll be plenty of opportunities. And in fact, one of the things I do want to mention is that as the Optim bond winds up, we'll be getting an allocation of Optim tokens, which I've committed to releasing to delegators who participated over the past year. So there will be an airdrop coming to you at some point of Optim tokens. And if you're interested, you can go and check out Optim tokens and their price action again on Tap Tools. You can see it's sitting as by market cap 14th largest native token on Cardano. Their price has dropped recently, but they've got a whole load of new tech coming out, which is, the Optim token is the base one in their ecosystem. They've also got Optim X, they've got OADA, and they've got another one coming as well. So they've got more tokens launching, all different utility, but Optim is their sort of base one that's got the highest market cap and it's stable one. And yeah, it is a valuable token, and I think you'll be pleased with what you get out of it. Good. There was something else I wanted to mention on Optim just quickly. Let's have a quick look on. Just try to find it for you. So Optim team have got a whole load of new products being worked on at the moment, and one of them is a synthetic ADA. So it's a way of increasing your staking rewards by exchanging your ADA for OADA. They've got a whole load of complex mechanisms that I don't fully understand yet, but I am studying as to how it will work. But that's one thing they're working on. They've also got this new product called Leviathan, which will be a way of massively speeding up the finality of transactions on Cardano using a layer 2 solution. So if you're fed up with waiting 20 seconds for your trades to go through, Leviathan is promising, instant finality pretty much. So you'll be able to place a trade and it will be treated as having been filled immediately. So for a trading point of view, that's really powerful to be able to get the price at the market price as it happens as you place a trade, which we've kind of got in Cardano anyway already with deterministic transactions, but we don't have fast penalty. You still do have to wait for that 20 seconds or so for the transaction to be on chain, to be validated, to get a level of assurance before you can then place another trade with that UTXO and so on and so forth. This Leviathan promises to be able to do that with instant finality, and also transaction chaining, which is a way of stacking a whole load of transactions one behind the other, each reliant on the preceding one, to rapidly boost the efficiency of the network. So we could have a whole load of trading transactions going through like that on layer 2, constantly coming back to settle on layer 1. But yeah, a whole load of new architecture coming that their team are very confident will be one of the most innovative sectors within decentralized finance as a whole, but certainly within Cardano. So exciting to see. And so far they've delivered on everything they promised. They're doing really well, and they've got 100 million ADA go through their bond platform so far. So they do know what it is to run a successful project, to do difficult technical launches of products, and whether we'll see adoption and a resulting increase in their value of their tokens. I'm excited for their future. And if you want to go and do some reading, this is a good place to do it. So I'll drop that link into this thread in particular is a really good one to read through about their latest innovations. I think there's also some Medium posts. I'll find those too. But yes, that is Optim. Another thing that I did mention a while ago was TeddySwap as a new exchange that launched on Cardano. What has borne out in the most recent times in social media and so on and so forth is that actually it is a TeddySwap is a user interface built on top of a Spectrum open source DEX. So Spectrum DEX launched all their code open source. TeddySwap built their user interface over the top of that open source exchange backend, and the two key core developers within the team who have come out, like one of them come out of the IOG team, I think. One was running the back end on-chain infrastructure, one was developing the front end off-chain infrastructure. Both the developers are left, and the off-chain developer has basically been like a whistleblower on the project and said that there was so little money within the project that they haven't really been able to pay their developers. He's ended up building a whole load of the architecture himself out of principles, and has finally sort of burnt out and left the project as a result. And the actual sort of head guy, or the the CEO, if it was a traditional startup, has born out to be someone with more ambition than ability, quite possibly. So probably not worth getting involved in this exchange at all. Certainly at the moment, if you've been allocated any Teddy, whether you participated in the ISPO, any of their NFT events, or actually as a liquidity provider on their DEX, I'd ditch that token as quickly as you can, because its price is probably not going to have a long-term viability if something doesn't change. However, the good news is that something is bubbling, something's in the works. The guy who left, the off-chain developer who left, Clark Alessio, I think his name is, Alessna. He has been very vocal on Twitter about his complaints about the project, and so that's all splurge out here. He's been in a couple of Twitter spaces also with the founder, and they've sort of gone face to face a little bit. They're, reasonably measured, polite people. I wouldn't say that the founder is a scammer, but he is being related to projects that have failed to too large an extent to be deemed as a worthwhile founder of a project. So don't, get involved with anything he's involved with is probably my position now. But this guy Clark has now joined the Coinector team, who I'm very confident in, and he is looking at ways to rescue the TeddySwap ecosystem. And even though he's not, an owner of the project at all, the founder still is the older guys that hold the keys. And actually, interestingly, he is one of the founders in the Toasty Drop platform as well, which is a front end built on the Seal Pools code. So yeah, history kind of reskinning other people's work seems to be his thing. So Toasty Drop is fine, still doing its job, and you can claim tokens on there without fear or guilt or shame or anything. TeddySwap DEX probably don't get involved with. I don't know if there's anybody good left in that team, but that's as it stands at the moment. But Clark and the founder, whose name I don't even know, the Frosty, he's kind of known as, it seems to be collaborating on some kind of handing the apps, the intellectual property, and the treasury that's being built up there over to the community, so it could become a DAO run project instead of a private one, which would be very cool and a win, because obviously there's a whole lot of work that's gone into this. This is architecture that we could benefit from if it becomes trustworthy as a platform. And so it may end up that this all tidies itself up, sorts itself out, and goes on to do very well. But at the moment, treat with caution. And again, there's a couple of links for that related to that I'll drop, so you can do your own research or read up on interest. The final bit I want to talk about, we're about 11 o'clock here in the UK, but final bit I want to talk about, just as a quick one, so you can go and have a look, is ADA Markets. I was talking about Dex Hunter a little while back, which has done extremely well. It's a Dex aggregator. So if you place a trade, anybody places a trade on any of the dexes, then they all get aggregated, and you can actually leverage multiple of those dexes to get the best price possible for a trade you place if you do it through Dex Hunter. And that has meant that something like 50% of transactions now go through that Dex aggregator on Cardano rather than going directly to an exchange. ADA Markets is another project now that is launching their Dex aggregator. One of the guys behind this is actually Cardano with Paul, who's a YouTuber influencer who's really good, knows his stuff, interviews a whole load of founders, and is also now a founder himself of his own project. So this ADA Markets is in beta, and it's got some innovative features like dollar cost averaging. So if you wanted to participate in this in any of the tokens, wanted to buy it, exchange some of your ADA for any of these native tokens, these new native tokens, at a set cycle, at set threshold, and you can come and do that within this DEX aggregator. It's in beta at the moment, so it is operating on mainnet, but it's beta, so there may be bugs in it, a bit like we saw with Dex Hunter at launch as well. But now I place trades through Dex Hunter regularly, and it does really, really good job. So yeah, do keep an eye on this one, ADA Markets too. So if I flip it into DCA mode, then actually, if I was going to say, okay, I've got 1,000 ADA, I want to change for SNEC, which I'm not like to do, but let's find something else. Book. I want to get hold of some book tokens. I want to exchange 1,000 ADA for book tokens. Then I could actually do create a strategy on here of buying 500 or 200 ADA's worth of book at certain thresholds. So if the price reaches 0.05, buy 200. If it reaches 0.05 or 0.045, buy another 200. If it reaches 0.04, buy another 200. So you can actually set sort of entry thresholds and set and forget, basically. It will then execute those trades for you without you having to go and monitor them. which is a very powerful little tool for getting hold of a token that you don't want to sit and watch daily yourself and be trading, sitting and watching the markets all the time. You can set up your dollar cost averaging trades on here, and it will go through and execute them quite nicely within the native Cardano native token space. So yes, the innovative features on here that is looking really good. And of course, you can just use it for your market or limit swaps as well. Million tokens. What have I got here? Okay, that's the exchange you'll be doing the swap on. And you can actually change the DEX to one that you prefer if you so choose and place those trades. So yeah, some innovative features. But yeah, one to have a look at just as a bit of curiosity at the moment. It's in beta, so there may be some bugs in it still, but yeah, I'm excited about its future as well. And it's great to have competition in any sphere. So we've got Dex Hunter doing extremely well, 50% of trades going through it. It's good to have an alternative that can do the same sort of job, just so that we've got both teams staying efficient using that market. Let the customers' footfalls decide the future of the winning tools. It's a good thing to be able to do for any ecosystems to stay healthy and efficient and sensible. So yeah, have a look at ADA markets. Good. Well, we're at time. I think I've talked enough. Any questions?
Yes, Jonathan. I missed the last week call. It's regarding voting now. Have I missed it? What's happening? Looks like Snapshot has been closed, right?
On Project Catalyst, you mean?
Yeah, Fund 11. Yeah.
Yeah. So the snapshot for voter registration was has just passed. I think it was on the 15th.
Yeah. So what is the next step? Because I think I haven't really done anything because we left everything in the fluid, and all the error is in there.
It
So
doesn't matter where they're at stake. That's independent of Project Catalyst. That's fine. So you can vote with any wallet that's staked anywhere. So the next round is actually evaluating, or the current phase now is evaluating the projects that are out there for that have managed to make it into the final ballot for voting on. So you can come to projectcatalyst.io, and this is where you'll find all the information on the current fund. So you get an overview, which will have the amount of ADA being distributed, where in the cycle we are at the moment. Actually, we're in between the community reviews and the community voting stage, so voting doesn't open up for another week or so, I think it is. But these are the challenges or categories that each project fits into, and then within each of those, you'll have a whole load of projects listed. So this is a good overview of the fund as a whole, and then within each of these, you can dive in and actually see the projects within. Oh, can you not do it from here? Okay,
so I basically don't need to register anything like that at this moment, right? It's just there, and it's they would have taken snapshot. I didn't register anything like that.
Well, you registered for Fund 10 though, didn't you?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So your fund, if you're registering for Fund 10, then your registration is good from now on. So until they say otherwise, you can still vote in Fund 11 and expect rewards, etc., etc. So yeah, everything's in place. You're still good. It was only if the last time you registered was in Fund 9 or before, then you did need to re-register, because you could place your vote still. You can place your vote still if you register in Fund 4, for example. You can still place your votes now, but you won't receive the ADA rewards for voting, the voter incentives. If you re-registered for Fund 10, now onwards, you'll be eligible for those incentive rewards still. So yeah, you're all set. You're good to go. So it's just a case now of going to Idea Scout. I'm sure there was a better link up in here, but maybe not. So yeah, you can now go through to Idea Scale or Lie Donation, and browse through Fund 11's projects. and start to figure out what you want to be voting for. Safe in the knowledge that you will be rewarded for making the effort to actually vote, which is good. So I
In
don't know.
the past, you had you used to give us a bit of a list of a project that you thought it was pretty, like with the scope or something like that. So I was
Yeah,
wondering if you have similar sort of thing.
I'll be working on mine over the next couple of weeks. Yeah, things I want to be voting for. Started gathering them. I'll be gathering on Lido Nation again. This is the best
Yeah,
Catalyst Explorer. So you can come to Lido Nation, go to the Catalyst Explorer home, and so this is the official platform for all the projects, all the proposals to get submitted through the actual functional one. Lido Nation is a user interface, really. So it shows you what's going on within it. Gives some really nice stats on past funds and so on and so forth. But then also it has gathered all the proposals themselves onto the platform. And people will be posting videos and stuff like that you can then filter for on here, just to get if you're for consuming video content, you can come on and just see product introductions done with video on here. You've got a whole load of filtering mechanisms. One is you just fund 11. Then you'll just see the projects that are open to voting now. Some really good tools on here for filtering down through projects. So yeah, I'd encourage you to come and use Lido Nation as your browser. And yeah, I don't want to be doing all the work for everybody. If there's only a few people making decisions on what's worth vote, then we're diminishing the power of the vote, because that's the problem we've got with our governance system in the our nation states. We don't have a choice in the UK as to who we vote for anymore. We're given two bad choices, in my opinion, and that's what we want to avoid by in this new voting mechanisms available to us through the blockchain. We want everybody's voice to be heard, everybody's opinion to count, and that means that we need to encourage voter participation and everybody doing some due diligence, everybody talking with each other about projects they've seen, and think are worth their vote, and really growing the awareness together. For example, this guy M2 Tech, I know, having been in groups with him over the past couple of years, he's doing a really good job in creating real world like cash points for people buying things in stores with ADA. So his project I'm going to have a look at and see if I think that it's worth a vote in this fund or not. But certainly that's the sort of information I can provide to everyone to go and I'll provide a list of projects that I'm intending to vote for, that you can go and have a read through and do your own research. But yeah, that's a good shout out, good reminder. So Project Catalyst is underway. Get involved in the town halls. Have a look at the idea fests that will be going on in the next couple of weeks. Join those if you can and hear the actual proposals themselves. You can see them on screen. You can ask them questions in Zoom calls. And there's an idea fest happening in Latin America and in Europe, certainly I know of so far. So those will be good to follow. And no doubt, we've got Catalyst Swarm is the big community project that I've been involved in, and they have town halls now independent of themselves. So there's no centralized control, but running under the same sort of infrastructure in Europe, in Asia, in Latin America, in North America, and sort of global one as well. So that all those are town halls you can go to. They'll be running events so you can go to find out about Project Catalyst, and ways to get involved more than just being a voter as well. So it's a great ecosystem. It's very exciting to be a part of.
So we'll be able to choose about how many projects? 10 projects, right? To vote.
I can't remember how many this time. There's like 1,000 or something. So
no.
You can pick anywhere from 10 to 1,000.
Oh.
And when you're voting,
Catalyst,
It is a problem, yeah. But that's why we need more and more people involved, because otherwise it will just be the high profile YouTubers who get their projects talked about, and they're the ones that get voted in, and will have the same top weighted system as otherwise. Lots of people's opinions are needed, so lots of people will be looking at these projects and thinking whether they're worthy of vote or not. Will just spread the awareness, the adoption, the growth of the ecosystem as a whole. So it could be that there's some projects on here that have a particular interest to you. Maybe they are from teams based in Nepal. Maybe they're involved in knitwear. There could be a project in there that's niche that I'm not an expert in that you would be. And so, if you can find those, figure out if they're worth a vote or not, and then inform me, that would be a great thing for me then to say, yeah, cool, I'll stick my votes against that. And the way that Project Catalyst works is that your whole voting power, the amount of ADA you hold and own, can go against any of the projects in the proposal system. So that'll be a vote positive for that project to the weight of the ADA that you hold. There is no downvoting now, so you can't downvote projects, and this will be the first time we'll actually be able to see whether that makes a significant difference to what gets funded or not. I don't have any proposals in this fund. I messed up my proposal writing and didn't get it in correctly, so I'm having to wait for Fund 12. But yeah, you can't vote for me this fund, but there are several projects that I will be promoting as being, having been part of in the past, or may have some work delegated to me as part of the project itself. But yeah, I do try and look at the whole system, as many proposals as possible, and get some kind of opinion on. But most of that's through, again, network effect. I know people or see projects operate or have some opinion on them already, and that'll interest me enough to go and read about their proposal. So yeah, that tends to be the way I do it. Good. Any other questions on that or anything else?
Last question, Jonathan. The voting power on my voting app shows the same number of ADA as last time. Should that be updated to the recent balance?
Yes, so the snapshot will be taken
5 days time.
Yes, 5 days, cool. So I can't remember the exact date.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I'm watching the app at the moment. It says voting about to start, 5 days, 23 hours, 41 minutes. So is that when they take the snapshot?
Yeah. So
Okay.
if for example you got AXO trades open that weren't like to be filled, then you might want to close down those.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Actually with AXO, again, that's another benefit, is that you can leave your trades on and your ADA will still be eligible for vote in Catalyst.
Yeah.
Because
so it's
of
a
that.
different wallet. It's a different wallet to when I registered with the voting app.
Right. Okay. So yes.
Yeah, so I'll have to move them between the wallets.
The easiest way is to aggregate all of your ADA into that one
Yeah.
wallet that you registered. Yeah.
So the new snapshot for the new balance will be taken when the voting starts.
Correct. Yes. So that when that snapshot date is, that will be the amount of ADA that you've got in that wallet at that point in time will then be used for voting when it comes to voting. So so as soon as that snapshot's taken, give it an hour or so, then you can move your ADA back out again to wherever you had it traded or staked or whatever.
But my understanding, snapshot is already taken, right? It's taken 15 January.
In 5 days, not being taken already. So Fund 11 is the one you're voting for now, and there's a new snapshot for every fund. So your voting power is determined before the voting opens, and it's the amount of ADA you've got in your wallet at that point in time. So for Fund 10, there was a snapshot back in whenever that fund was. There's a snapshot for Fund 11 being taken in 5 days' time. But your snapshot is different from your registration. So you're registered for vote in Fund 10. You, Utan, registered for vote in Fund 10, but the snapshot will be taken of how much ADA you're holding to actually determine your voting power in 5 days' time.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
Quite a lot. Thank you for that. Thank you very much, Jonathan.
No worries. If you
Appreciate it.
find anything interesting during the week, pop on Discord. I'll drop these links onto there, and otherwise, I'll catch up with you next week.
Next week. Super.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks, guys. I'll
Thanks.
Thank you.
bye bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.